After I had my third heart attack, Timmy and Kevin and I decided I should record a little bit of my life's history. I was born in Clearfield to Emery Hamblin and Bertha Marie Pace Hamblin. I was a third child. I had two sisters older, Faye Marie, and then two sisters younger, Alice and Ruth. Grandma and I were married in the Salt Lake Temple, June the 12th, 1953. Some of my first thoughts as a small child, I remember I always wore bib overalls till I was probably ready to go into junior high school. As a family, our family my dad's family, brothers and sisters, cousins and that, all of us went up to Echo Canyon, to a little side canyon, Sawmill Canyon, where we had, every summer we'd go up there and spend about a week. Back at that time, why, most everybody farmed for their existence, worked on the railroad, whatever. And then as a family, a big family, we would always get together for Easter Sunday. We would go up to the present location is Hillfield. There was two trees off the north side of where the main gate is now. There was two trees back off to the north from the highway. We called it the Twin Trees, and that's where we would go until they started building Hillfield, and then we could no longer go there. After that, we went for a few times out to it was on 1900 where the bridge goes across the railroad tracks. Sometimes we were off to the west and a little bit south. A few times we were down in that little gully area to the east of the overpass. Sometimes in the winter we would get together. I remember going on a big bobsled, the whole family, team of horses pulled the sled. The ones that wanted to and had sleighs could get on a sleigh and be pulled behind the big sleigh. My dad's family always did a lot of things together. Back then, though there was not the things to do that there is now. And life was much slower, much easier. I attended grade school in Clearfield, except for 2 years after the war started, and they were building what's now called the Freeport Center. That was a an inland naval base is what they called it. While they were building that, they used our school, part of our school, for offices while they were under construction. 1 year, part of a year, I went to Clinton. They bused us to Clinton to school. And then another year, part of the year, we were bused to Layton, which isn't a great distance, except sometimes to come home after school, we would walk up the railroad tracks from Layton to Clearfield, because where we lived was not very far from the railroad tracks. When I was a teenager, I worked in junior high school there. I went to North Davis Junior High School. I worked in the Clearfield Bakery there that was right on the corner of 700 South and the highway. Close enough we could, well, in them days, basically, if you wanted to go any place, you walked. I remember walking every Saturday, it seemed like, for part of part of my life when I was young, we would walk up to Clearfield to go to the movie theater on Saturday afternoon. After Grandma and I were married, when Brent was a small baby, we moved to Magna and lived there for several months, 6 months or so, because I had a job over there at the what they called it was Hoffman Heights. I worked for F&S Construction. We nicknamed it was father and son, but we called them Fast and Sloppy, F&S. When I was in the 9th grade, my Uncle Rulon and Mary, my Uncle Rulon and Aunt Mary were building a house. And my dad and Rulon were doing something up in the attic, I think, and I was installing rock lath so it could be plastered. And I got my hand in the table saw and almost severed my thumb completely. Well, several years later, like probably 60 years later, while I was building my pepper mills, cutting some blocks on the table saw, I got my hand in the saw again and completely cut that same thumb off at approximately the same place. It sounds terrible when you stop and think about it. The living through it was not that bad. I didn't pass out or anything. I'd been taking 2 different blood thinners because of my heart attack, and I just bled all over. There was snow there, just a lot of blood. All of our kids, Brent, Dwayne, Terry, Tanya, Tina, were born in Ogden, Utah. We had moved to Soda Springs, Idaho for a couple of years for my work, and Tammy was born in Soda Springs, Idaho. At that time, when we moved back, we had people leasing our house. Lola Marie got us a house to move into in Harrisville. When we moved into it, when it was built a long time ago, it was a nice house. When it was built, it was a polygamist house, so there was basically 2 kitchens, big wide stairway to go up the stairs to the attic, to the second floor. It was a large house. After we had to about take the people that was renting our house, leasing our house, we about had to sue them, take them to court to get them out of our house so we could move back in. But we did. And then we decided we would build a new house. Things were good. We built a new house on Taylor Circle, 1545 Taylor Circle. A nice big house. This was before any of the kids were married, so we had six children here. And it was, for the most part, a good life. We never had a lot of money to spend, but it seems like we had enough to do the things that we wanted to do. We would go out to Rock Creek every year to where Grandma's great-grandpa had a lodge. We would go out there a year for a vacation. I've been making peppermills now for about 8 years. At this time I have entered the state fair 7 times, taken 2 best of shows and 5 first places. I have peppermills in every state, all 50 states. I got quite a few in Canada. I got 11 in Sweden, 2 in Poland, 1 in England, 5 in Australia. It's just been something I have thoroughly enjoyed for the time I've been doing. And I only wish that I had started it earlier so my mother and dad could see what I've done. My mother lived to be 94 years old. At the time she passed away, she'd never been an overnight patient in the hospital. All 5 of us kids were born at home. My dad died. He had open heart surgery. And a week later he had blood clots in his legs, which his legs had bothered him for off and on for many years. I know we packed in one time in the Uintas and went fishing and hiked down to a lake. And then when we got back to camp that night, why, my dad had leg cramps so bad he couldn't sleep. I wanted all of my kids to know that I love them all very much. We've had for the most part, I think, a wonderful time together. I love my wife, Darlene, your grandma, great-grandma, whatever. I love her very much. At this time, I don't know what I would have done without her. I don't think I would be here if it wasn't for her. I don't know what more to say right now, except I feel like I've had a good life. I've had 3 very serious heart attacks that any one of them could have taken my life at any time. After the second heart attack, Tammy remarked to me that, Dad, when you had your first heart attack, the reason you didn't die is because we were fairly close to the hospital. They got me to the hospital. The doctors there knew what to do, take care of me, and they did. My second heart attack, Grandma and I were alone up at the cabin. At the time I had it, she did not, I don't remember her ever driving the Blazer down the hill from the cabin. But she did that day, and not only drove it, she got on the cell phone and arranged for an ambulance to meet us at Rafter B. On the way down the canyon, after we come into Morgan, there by Morgan, and from out around Valley, I could tell by the scenery out the back window where we were, and then I basically just went to sleep. This was on Thursday. On Saturday morning, the nurse told me that my heart had stopped and they had to jump start me. She showed me the burn marks on my chest. But anyway, Tammy said that being as I had made through the 2 heart attacks that would have been very easily not to have survived either one of them, that it wasn't my time to go. And I should be thinking as to the reason that I'm still here. I can't come up with any reason. Except I had peppermills that I still wanted to make. And family coming that I still wanted to see. But I do want everybody to know I do love them very much. My only regret is that I didn't have more time to spend with them while they were young and growing up. There's a lot of things I could have done, should have done, would like to have done. Since I've retired, I've thoroughly enjoyed that. It is nice to, I've always enjoyed my family being around. Whether we have a get together here at the house or wherever we go, that's the highlight of my day, to have family around. This is all I can think of to say at this time.
Happy birthday, sister. Happy birthday to
It's
you.
recording now.
I hope you have many more. I hope your life is true and I remember the good old days when we were young and free. When the whole family was there. Town each. I remember. Happy birthday, sister. I think of you each day. You've been a very good friend to me in every single way. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. I hope next year we can get together here.
Thank you.
I just make them up as I go. I don't have any songs. So.
It's okay.
He made them up. He didn't even rehearse it. You're so sweet. That was very nice.
Yeah.
I was thinking about that, and I am gonna take my guitar.
Yeah.
You got your keys dirty in the car though.
Don't you worry, I told you that you were lucky. Have I told you lately I Have I told you lately that I love you? You need to sing that one, I think.
Have I told you lately that I love you? Have I told you?
Well, no, I can't remember how it goes.
I don't
I told you lately that I care.
Have I told you lately that I love you? Well, I'll tell you once again somehow. Have I told you with all my heart how I adore you? Well, darling, I'm telling you now. My heart will break
my brother, our brother?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I know,
Okay.
Phil. I remember
The Dolly
the
song
last
that you sang?
family gathering.
Oh, when we were
Dolly.
little?
Dolly.
It was before you were born.
Oh, I
Couldn't tell you what I
met Billy before, didn't you?
Uh-huh, the other part.
Okay,
What are we gonna do?
Dolly. It's Dolly.
Dolly.
You remember Dolly?
My mom
Oh, Miss Eddie, it might be goody that she would buy me a rubber dolly. So don't you tell her I got a feather, and she won't buy me a rubber dolly. That's what you were talking about. Oh,
She
okay.
said it.
That was before you were born.
I still remember that now.
The one we called from California, and he was singing,
She
and
says-
you thought it was your dad.
She's a young.
Cheating heart.
Oh, you on that one?
I have something else to go in there, so you need to go in there. So I'm getting it, so we get ours ready to be situated.
No one in the last one.
With what's built.
Oh,
Where's my man?
Yeah, you got it.
I put it away. Want me to bring it back out?
I just saw where it was.
I just want to make sure nothing will get spilled on it.
Thank you.
Year after we were married. So that's,
And I told Mom years and years ago that I wanted it.
Walking on covered with snow, I met my true love. Through snow.
You never can trust.
You never can trust. That's right.
They kiss you and tell you more lies than
Yeah.
lost tides on railroads are stars
We
in
have,
night.
You know,
we
that,
haven't
there's
sung it
more.
for about 30 years.
Hasn't been that
You
long.
remember it, huh?
Cowboy Jack.
I ain't singing.
Can you remember?
Slipping
Yeah,
around.
no.
You won't sing Cowboy Jack?
Can't remember.
What about the Yellow Rose of Texas?
She says she knows it, she just doesn't want to sing it.
I can't sing anymore.
Yes, you can.
Cannot.
It will
Never
come
could.
I
down.
can think about that.
It will.
That's in the man of moon.
You never could sing. What are you talking about?
Oh, come on. She was,
I
she
think
was,
you said cheating heart.
she was the runner-up and the Miss Ogden pageant with a beautiful voice.
Okay, but I remember when she was taking music lessons, and we lived up there at the dance studio, and I was in there washing dishes and singing, and the music teacher said, "You're giving the wrong kid lessons." I needed lessons, she was saying.
Very funny, Billy.
Yeah, when you laugh, your face goes red.
No, that was piano lessons.
whatever it was.
And I flunked, the teacher didn't want
In
me
the
to
study room, right on that table, there is some sheet music and it says, count your blessings. There's 2 pieces. Would you bring it here, please? Will make you weep. You cry and cry, and you cry to sleep, but sleep won't come the whole night through. Your cheating heart will tell on you. When tears fall down like falling rain, you toss around and you call my name. But sleep won't come the whole night through. Your cheating heart will tell on you. Yeah.
Something like that.
Okay.
I ain't singing that.
Why?
I ain't doing that. I ain't doing
I
that.
bought that in 1952.
It was a good year.
Everything ruined.
1952 was a
We're
very
gonna
good
sing
year.
this in church. Josh, you don't need anybody. You're doing fine by yourself. Why would I want to encourage you?
Some of the ones you make up all the time.
What was that one that I just had in my head?
Everybody loves those.
What was what, honey?
I just had a song in my head that I thought, but I can't remember it anymore.
I knew a girl named Becky. She was full of crap. Didn't like that little girl, and I tried to set a trap so I could catch her and give her to an old man. Somebody who liked her more than me. Nobody wanted her, so I had to keep her, and I'm still in misery. Mickey, oh Mickey, nobody likes that girl.
Oh,
Except maybe her Aunt Darlene, and then maybe even some other girl. But I am stuck with her for the rest of my whole life. She's there with me, and we have planned to be my wife.
You embarrass me.
Come on, you're in the family. I
Do
should
the
stand.
angels,
Nah,
please.
please.
the angel can't sing.
That's
say words.
okay, that's
She
all
just
right.
sings way back, and she's crying. She's way
It's
back.
okay, just sing it, just do it.
Late at night, when everything was still, I heard an angel sing. I remember it still. She sang until her heart was broke. Heard her in the night. I've walked country miles just to hear her sing. Hear her, I just wish I could hear the words she sings. I don't have an ending for it.
Did you make that up?
Yeah,
It's beautiful.
it is.
So does it get out of tune just sitting there a few minutes?
Oh, it was just barely out.
Oh, really? Oh my gosh, after all that?
Okay, right here. If you go on these right here.
That's
After I learned guitar, I said after I learned guitar, I tried tuning it again.
Uh-huh. It takes me a minute after playing the guitar because the frets are done. I have to play it for a little while where it feels like a banjo instead of a guitar.
Because it's in the corner. You put the nail in this one.
Remember that?
And that's your nail. Yeah.
Okay.
But even.
Your chair, didn't I? Yeah, I just need to go see what he's talking about. Terry's
On
getting some of his stuff.
on the-
Don't play.
Now, do I need to move my car?
on Terry's table, the plant that's sitting there, is that theirs or yours?
Well, there wasn't a plant there, was there?
I guess there is. I don't
Okay.
know. I wasn't there.
Keep playing, I'll be back.
Is recording. So I wondered what you would want to say to the great grandkids that haven't been born yet. What would you want them to know about you guys?
Wow.
I don't know. That,
Well, for one thing, they have no idea what it was like when our kids were little, because it's incomprehensible. They're in a whole different world now with all the electronic things. They have no idea. When we built our first house, we bought Lipton's noodle soup. The cheapest thing we could buy, and that's what we ate most of the time so we could save money.
yeah.
Yeah. So it's
Well-
neat that they have this world, but sometimes I think it was nice when it was a little more simple.
We borrowed $8,000 when we built that house, didn't we?
The first house, borrowed $8,000.
Our payments were $67 a month, it seemed like.
Yeah. And the first house that we actually bought, before that, the little house on Jefferson, I already told that, didn't I?
I don't know.
Yeah, it was $50 a month until we paid off $1,500.
That was for the lot. We paid $1,500 for the lot.
Oh, we paid Dad $3,500 for the house.
Yeah.
That's right, we took over the loan. Okay. Yep. So things are a lot different now. And they're very, very lucky, but they don't realize it.
Kids had never believed. When we got married, I was making $50 a week.
Mm-hmm.
Was that a good wage then?
It was a fair wage.
You were 19?
We had,
19 years old?
yeah. We bought a new car before Brent was born, didn't we? But you could buy a new car then for
How much did gas cost?
17 cents a gallon until they had a gas war, and then it was 13, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, tell the story about the gas wars that you were talking about the other day.
Well, the gas war, right after we were married, there was a gas war in Salt Lake. Gasoline was, I think, 17 cents a gallon, and they had a war in Salt Lake. The stations were warring against each other, cutting prices. So the gas was 13 cents a gallon. We took our friends, George and Marion, and 2 5-gallon cans and went down and filled up our car and filled up 2 5-gallon cans with gas because it was so
on
cheap.
Beck Street in Salt Lake.
Yeah,
That was always the cheapest place for gas.
yeah.
Yeah. Tell them about when we were going to go to the movie one night
Oh.
with George and Marion with us, and you went in and told them to
If I remember right, that was at, yeah.
change the oil? No, to
George
check the oil.
and my dad and I went duck hunting up on the Bear River someplace. And we got a goose between us. So my mother cooked the goose one night. George and Mary come and we had goose. And then we went to the movie. This was before we had our new car. So we had what was it? You don't remember what year it was? A 50 Chevy.
But we didn't make it to the movie.
We went to Big Burn's gas in North Clearfield. And I told the guy, I'll pump the gas if you put an oil in, a quart of oil in for me. And I pumped the gas and come around and he had the oil running in the radiator. I says, you're putting that in the radiator? And he pulled the can out without checking to see how much he even had in there. So Big Burn made him drain the radiator and put the antifreeze back in. So we didn't make it to the movie that night.
Do you remember what we did?
No.
We came over on 25th Street and sat and rolled up all the windows and locked the doors and watched the drunks and the stupid people. That was more fun.
The secretary, when I worked at Pheasant Brook in Centerville, said her first date with her husband, that's exactly what they did. They went to Ogden and parked on 25th Street and was watching the drunks, and she watched some guy urinate in the gutter there, just right on the street.
So how bad did 25th Street used to be in Ogden?
Really bad.
It was 25th Street was world famous because of all of they had like 100 trains a day that was coming into Ogden. And there was a lot of servicemen that would in and out because they had Hillfield, Naval Supply Depot, and 2nd Street, there was a lot of servicemen around. But 25th Street, they claim was so famous right after the war that you could mail a postcard anywhere in the world and just put on it an address on 25th Street, and you didn't have to put Ogden or Utah on it, and it would be delivered. It was that famous.
So what was it famous for?
Oh, gambling, prostitution.
Prohibition.
They had a half a block north of 25th Street. There was an alley that went from Wall up to Grand, I think, at the time. And
Red light alley.
you could drive, yeah, it was called Electric Alley. You could drive up there at night and see the red lights in the windows of some of the rooms there. So.
Tell me about the tunnels.
Well, I don't know. All I've heard about the tunnels is what other people have told me.
Okay.
Uh,
There was tunnels that went underneath from one business to the other because of prohibition. Do you know what that is?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Some of the tunnels went way up 25th Street. Oh.
Prohibition was when the government made it illegal to sell any liquor at all. And so
Alcohol beverages.
any alcohol beverages. So to get around that, back in the big cities, they would have people that would make illegal whiskey and whatever in their bathtubs for the income that they would derive from that. It was a big business. I don't know how, except, well, some of the states afterwards, after they repealed that, some of the states were still known as dry states. Utah was one of them. Except you could go,
What does that mean?
dry means that you could not legally buy alcohol in the state. You could go up into Wyoming and bring liquor back. One of my uncles, by marriage to my dad's sister, was known for he evidently had more than one still to make alcohol, but he would bring bottles down from Wyoming, and in some areas where he knew it was at, he would, in the wintertime, he would count the fence posts, maybe 10 fence posts, and there would be a bottle cache there by the base of the post in the snow.
It wouldn't freeze because of the alcohol.
But it was a big business for some of them.
And then where did he bury some of it?
Well, supposedly, in my grandmother's barn, there was in the walkway, there was a spot underneath the floor that he would stash his liquor in there. And also in the cornfield, to the south of that, he would have bottles, jugs of whiskey in there. When the revenuers came around he would send my uncle, Deloy, who at the time was probably maybe 13, 14 years old, and he'd go down there with a bat and break the bottles before the revenuers got them.
So what do you want to be known for?
What's your legacy? Pepper mills?
I guess pepper mills. Hard work. Seems like I worked hard all my life. I was never one to speculate or
You're an entrepreneur.
or the gamble the money I had to make it big or whatever. We were always very careful, very frugal. Even now, when we would go up to the cabin, we have the electric water heater. We would turn the water heater on till the water heated up, and then we'd turn the power off, save the electricity, because the water heater would retain hot water for a couple of days.
I want to be known for my artwork.
At this time,
And horses.
and horses.
Two horses I painted.
At this time, we have pepper mills in all 50 states. I got some in Sweden, England, Poland, and Australia, and Canada. I feel really good about what I've done with my pepper mills. I just wish my parents could have seen them.
You have one in Malaysia too.
I have one in Malaysia too, that's right. That's right.
So what have been the happiest times of your life, each of you?
Mine was when our kids were young. When we had all 6 kids there on Jefferson, and they were all doing good in school, and they were all good kids. That was for me. Before outside influences got a hold of them.
Well, we used to go every year. We would make at least one trip to Rock Creek with all the kids.
Mm-hmm.
Go out and spend some time out, a little bit of time out there.
And it was during that period of time we lived on Jefferson.
Yeah. We would leave Friday nights. About as soon as I got home from work, we would take off and come back Sunday afternoon so I could go to work again Monday morning.
Mm-hmm.
What was your favorite Christmas as a kid? What did you get for Christmas?
I think what I remember when I was little, before I could ride a bicycle, I got a scooter for Christmas. And I remember Christmas Day, there wasn't any snow. I could ride the scooter up the road. No snow.
No snow?
No snow.
You ride the scooter in snow?
There was no snow.
Oh, so you could ride it. Okay. All right.
But
Mine
also,
was a little doll that I got in the fourth grade, and it was beautiful. And it had a beautiful dress on. And one day I came home from school, and Becky broke the leg off. And I asked her where the leg was, and she didn't know. Never did find it. We moved from town, it was gone. She probably threw it down the well or something. It's gone. I still have the doll in my cedar chest.
You do?
Mm-hmm. It's the only one that I ever got that was really pretty. So I didn't get one every year like you did.
when I was a little older, my dad was big in the Davis County Wildlife Federation. They really had an organization then. but they would have a dinner once a year. And what they had served was buffalo that came off Antelope Island. And they'd have a raffle for different things. And my mother won a 20 gauge pump shotgun at the dinner, the party. And I was given that for Christmas present.
Well, how old were you?
But then, about 14.
Wow. That's neat.
My dad's philosophy was, it's always an empty gun that kills somebody. So he says, my guns are always loaded. And they were. And nobody messed with his guns. He never had a gun cabinet. His guns were always underneath the bed.
Hmm.
What's your fondest memory?
Sorry.
Bless you. What's your fondest memory of your parents?
I remember one. Can I say while he's
Yep.
thinking?
Yep.
This is for
When
both
we
of
would,
you.
when we were driving to California or someplace, we were in the car a long time, and Mom would be sitting right over next to Dad. They looked like newlyweds. And when they used to play in the band, they used to have a dance band, and I was so proud of them. They let me go to the dance and watch them. I was so proud of them.
What did they play?
Mom played the piano and Dad played the banjo and ukulele. And Uncle Hap played the trumpet or cornet, I don't know which was. And friend of him played the saxophone. I don't know what his name was.
Tell the story about how your mom acquired the piano.
What?
Tell the story about how your mom acquired her piano.
When she was, didn't I already tell about this?
No.
When she was little, she wanted to play the piano so bad that she learned to play it on a cardboard box. And then my Grandpa Davies, went out to Heber, and they bought an old piano that was out of a church house. And in fact, the piano box that it came in was still out in the barn for a long time when we left. And that's how she got the piano, and now and then my mom gave it to me, and then I gave it to Tammy.
But how did she raise the money to pay for it? Didn't she have to pay for part of it?
She paid for part of it, and she got wool she gathered wool off of the fence where the sheep rubbed up against it. She gathered the wool off of there and sold it.
Wow.
I never heard of anybody wanting to play the piano that bad. And when we would move someplace, every place we moved to, they didn't have somebody play the piano, almost every place in church. And so she would play the piano because she knew how so good. Almost every place.
What special talents did Grandma and Grandpa Hamblin have? Mom just talked about what Grandma and Grandpa Stevenson had.
Grandma was a fantastic cook, huh?
Well, she was a fantastic cook, but she also
Made quilts.
and she crocheted, and she tatted, which tatting right now is probably almost a lost art. She was good enough during the war that J.C. Penney would let her exhibit some of her work in their store window. And when we were small, during the war, things were rationed. Almost everything was rationed. Gasoline, you could only have,
This is the Second World War.
have so much a month, but the yarn for crocheting with they were allotted when the stores would get some in, it was only one to a customer. So my mother would give us kids money and we'd each go get a skein of yarn for her. But she,
And when we used to get butter, it was white, and we'd have to mix a little packet of yellow stuff in it to make it yellow, because it was margarine.
Margarine.
Because it was margarine.
yeah.
Yep.
That's when they came out with margarine, because the thing was to save on everything. They had what they called victory gardens that people in cities sometimes would be almost on their windowsill. They would raise something in the little garden so that everybody participated. They would have scrap iron drives.
And rubber.
And
If you
rubber.
had shoes with rubber soles and old tires, we gathered all that kind of stuff up and got paid for it.
When he was first married, he worked for the railroad. As I remember it, he made $1 a day. And they finally sent somebody, after he'd worked for them for several months, they sent somebody out from the office to tell him from now on he had to sign his paychecks. His mother wasn't to sign anymore and his wife wasn't to sign anymore. He had to sign them all. So. But you could buy actually then, you didn't buy it. You didn't go to the store and buy bread. My mother made bread maybe a couple of times a week. I don't know how she kept up with everything, but.
Yeah, my mother made fantastic bread on in an old coal kitchen stove.
Well, so did my mother.
And it was good.
It was good. In order to have hot water, my dad run pipes in through the burning area of the stove to circulate the water through the heat, so we would have hot water in the water tank.
Our hot water was a reservoir on the right side of the stove. You pour water in there and the stove would heat up the water. It's called a reservoir. I think it would hold about I think it would hold about 10 gallons. It was bigger than 5, I'm sure.
You have told quite often about when your uncle, I think it was your uncle, was installing an electric fence.
Yeah.
Tell that story.
Rule and Bill, when electricity first came out, and he was running, they had electricity in the barn, and from the barn they were running an electric fence down to keep the cattle in a certain area. And they almost had it done. And he told my uncle, at the time Rulon was probably about 15, he says, go up to the barn and turn the switch. By the time the power gets down here, I'll be done. He didn't know that as soon as that switch was on, the power was there.
Did he get shocked?
Yeah, he got shocked.
Pretty bad, huh?
Well, the thing is, if you don't know, with 110 volts, there's not enough power there to knock you away, but there's enough power there that you cannot let go. When I was little, my grandmother had pigs out in about a 4-acre field, and they had an electric fence around it. And when I went to climb over the fence, I grabbed hold of that fence with both hands, and I couldn't let go till I went and turned the power off.
I remember when I stuck my tongue on a bucket and it froze. They had to come out and pour water on it.
were you?
out at the well.
How old were you?
I'm trying to think. I think it was about 4. Before I went to school.
What was school like?
I can remember I was the best writer.
But tell about the classroom too, then.
Hang on, we gotta change tapes.
No, it's done. It's okay. We don't need to put a new tape in. I'm getting sititis. Isn't it done, Kevin?
Not
It
quite.
isn't?
So tell about your school.
Okay. In school? In Talmadge? I already told about it.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Did you tell Dad about when you were a kid and you used to get in trouble with your
Oh, yeah.
cousins?
You probably only have about 15 seconds
Oh.
left.
We're done then.
We're just gonna let it play out. So say whatever you want.
Well, there were several things. There's things I remember doing with Chuck, and there was things I remember doing with George. But I don't remember particularly anything with